The discovery. In the vast expanse of space, humanity had always believed they were alone. That belief was about to change dramatically. It was the year 2157, and the United Earth Space Agency, UESA, had just launched its most ambitious mission yet, a manned expedition to the outer reaches of the solar system. The Starship Odyssey, a marvel of human engineering, carried a crew of 12 intrepid explorers. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing their trajectory past Neptune. The ship's quantum drive hummed softly, a testament to humanity's technological leap in the past few decades. "Captain, we're picking up an anomalous reading," Lieutenant Raj Putta reported, his fingers dancing over the sensor controls. "It's unlike anything we've ever seen." Sarah leaned forward, her interest piqued. "On screen, Lieutenant." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a strange object floating in the inky blackness of space. It was roughly cylindrical, about the size of a small asteroid, but its surface gleamed with an otherworldly iridescence that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "What in the world is that?" Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the mission's chief scientist, whispered in awe. "Whatever it is, it's not natural," Sarah said, her voice tight with excitement and apprehension. Raj scanned for any signs of technology or energy emissions. As Raj worked, the rest of the crew gathered on the bridge, their faces a mix of wonder and nervousness. The scan results came in, and Raj's eyes widened. "Captain, the object is emitting a low-level tachyon field. It's definitely artificial." A hushed silence fell over the bridge. The implications were staggering. This was irrefutable proof that humanity was not alone in the universe. "Elena, assemble a team for EVA," Sarah ordered, her training kicking in despite the momentous nature of the discovery. "We need to get a closer look at that thing." Within the hour, Elena and 2 other crew members were suited up and approaching the alien object in one of Odyssey's shuttlecrafts. As they drew closer, the object's surface seemed to ripple and shift as if alive. "This is incredible," Elena breathed, her voice crackling over the comm. "The surface appears to be composed of some kind of programmable matter. I've never seen anything like it." As Elena reached out to touch the object, something extraordinary happened. The surface beneath her gloved hand began to glow, and a beam of light shot out, engulfing the shuttle. "What's happening?" Sarah demanded from the Odyssey's bridge, watching in horror as the shuttle and her crew members vanished in a flash of light. For a moment, there was nothing but stunned silence. Then, just as suddenly as they had disappeared, the shuttle and the 3 crew members reappeared. But something was different. The alien object was now pulsing with energy, and a holographic projection appeared before the Odyssey. The projection showed a star map, far more detailed and extensive than anything humans had ever created. At its center was a pulsing dot that seemed to represent their current location, and scattered throughout the map were hundreds, perhaps thousands, of other points of light. "My God," Dr. Rodriguez whispered as she and her team returned to the Odyssey. "It's a map of the galaxy, and those points, they must be inhabited worlds." As the crew of the Odyssey gathered to examine the star map, they realized that humanity had just been handed the keys to the stars. But with this incredible gift came a sobering realization. They were no longer alone, and they were about to step onto a galactic stage they knew nothing about. Captain Chen took a deep breath, steadying herself for what she knew would be a historic transmission. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UESA Starship Odyssey. We have made first contact with evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. I repeat, we have made first contact." As the message began its long journey back to Earth, the crew of the Odyssey knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Humanity was about to embark on its greatest adventure yet, one that would challenge them in ways they could never have imagined. Little did they know that this discovery was just the beginning. The alien artifact was more than just a star map, it was an invitation. And somewhere out there in the vast cosmic ocean, other intelligences were waiting, watching to see how humanity would respond to this first test. As the Odyssey's quantum engines powered up, preparing to take them deeper into the unknown, Captain Chen couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to make a jump into uncharted space, guided only by the alien star map. "All hands, prepare for quantum jump," she announced, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "We're about to go where no human has gone before." The ship hummed with energy, and in a flash of blue light, the Odyssey disappeared from the edge of the solar system, leaving behind the familiar and venturing into a new era for humanity. As they emerged from the quantum jump, the crew found themselves in orbit around a planet unlike any they had ever seen. Its surface shimmered with cities that seemed to be made of crystal and light, and sleek ships of various designs moved gracefully through its atmosphere. Before they could even begin to process what they were seeing, a transmission came through their communications system. The language was unlike anything they had ever heard, but somehow, miraculously, they could understand it. "Welcome, humans," the voice said, resonant and warm. "We have been expecting you. Your journey through the stars begins now." And with those words, humanity took its first steps into a larger universe, filled with wonders, dangers, and challenges they could never have imagined. The galactic trial had begun. The challenge. The crystalline spires of the alien city gleamed in the light of a strange, purple sun as the crew of the Odyssey stepped onto the surface of the planet they now knew as Luminara. Captain Sarah Chen led her team, their eyes wide with wonder as they took in the sights of a civilization far more advanced than their own. Their hosts, the Luminarians, were tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. Ambassador Zara, their guide, gestured for the humans to follow her into a vast structure that appeared to be made entirely of living crystal. "Welcome to the Hall of Trials," Zara said, her voice melodious and otherworldly. "Here, species from across the galaxy come to prove their worth and join the Galactic Concord." Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. They had come seeking knowledge and friendship, but it seemed they had stumbled into something far more complex. "I don't understand," Sarah said carefully. "What do you mean by prove our worth?" Zara's expression was unreadable, but there was a hint of sympathy in her luminous eyes. "The galaxy is vast and filled with wonders, Captain Chen, but it is also fraught with dangers. The Concord was formed to protect and nurture developing species, but we must be certain that those we invite to join us are ready for the responsibilities that come with such power." As they entered a vast chamber, holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Worlds teeming with life, starships of impossible designs, and cosmic phenomena that defied human understanding. "Humanity has shown great potential," Zara continued. "Your discovery of the beacon we left in your solar system proves that, but potential alone is not enough. You must demonstrate that you possess the wisdom, courage, and ingenuity to be a true part of the galactic community." Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her awe. "And how exactly do we do that?" A smile played at the corners of Zara's mouth. "Through the trials, of course. 3 tests that will challenge you in body, mind, and spirit. Success will grant humanity membership in the Concord and access to knowledge and technologies beyond your wildest dreams. Failure," she paused, her expression growing somber. "Failure will result in your species being quarantined, cut off from the greater galaxy for your own protection and ours." The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Sarah's shoulders. They hadn't come prepared for this. They were explorers, scientists, not champions in some cosmic contest. But as she looked at her crew, she saw determination in their eyes. They knew what was at stake. "We accept your challenge," Sarah said, her voice firm. "What's our first trial?" Zara nodded, seemingly pleased by their resolve. "The trial of adaptation. You will be transported to a series of hostile environments. Your task is to survive and thrive in each, using only your wits and the resources at hand." Before the humans could respond, the chamber around them shimmered and faded. Suddenly, They found themselves on a planet of perpetual twilight, its surface covered in dense alien jungle. Strange calls echoed in the distance, and the air was thick with unfamiliar scents. "Good luck," Zora's voice echoed in their minds. "You have 48 hours to establish a sustainable presence here. We will be watching." As the voice faded, the reality of their situation set in. They were alone on an alien world, with nothing but their EVA suits and basic equipment. Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenge ahead. "All right, team," she said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Let's show them what humanity is made of. Elena, start analyzing the local flora and fauna. Raj, see if you can get a topographical scan of the area. The rest of you, let's start setting up a base camp." As the crew sprang into action, Sarah couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. This was what humans did best: adapting, overcoming, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. They had risen from a primitive species to reach the stars through sheer determination and ingenuity. Now, they would prove to the galaxy that humanity deserved a place among the stars. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. Elena discovered that many of the local plants had incredible medicinal properties, while others were rich in nutrients that their suits could process into food. Radar scans revealed a network of underground caves that provided shelter from the planet's frequent acid rain storms. Working together, the crew of the Odyssey didn't just survive, they thrived. By the time Zora reappeared, they had established a small but efficient outpost, complete with rudimentary power generation using bioluminescent fungi and a water filtration system that could handle the planet's toxic streams. Zora's eyes widened as she took in their accomplishments. "Impressive," she said, genuine admiration in her voice. "You've adapted to this world faster than any species we've seen in centuries. You've passed the first trial." Relief washed over the crew, but Sarah knew they couldn't relax yet. "What's next?" she asked, ready to face whatever challenge the Concorde had in store for them. Zora waved her hand, and the jungle world dissolved around them. They found themselves back in the crystal chamber on Luminara. "The trial of wisdom," Zora announced. "You must solve a problem that has plagued our civilization for millennia. A problem that, despite our advanced technology, we've been unable to resolve." The air shimmered, and a holographic representation of a solar system appeared before them. At its center was not a star, but a writhing mass of dark energy. "This is the vortex," Zara explained, her voice grave. "A cosmic anomaly that devours entire star systems. It's been moving through our galaxy for eons, and we've been powerless to stop it. Your task is to find a way to neutralize or contain it." The humans stared at the hologram in awe and trepidation. This was far beyond anything they had ever encountered. But as Sarah looked at her crew, she saw not despair, but determination. This was their chance to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, but their ability to think outside the box. "We'll need access to all the data you have on the vortex," Elena said, her mind already racing with possibilities. Zora nodded, and suddenly their minds were flooded with information: centuries of observations, failed experiments, and theoretical models. It was overwhelming, but the humans didn't falter. They dove into the data, determined to find a solution where an entire galactic civilization had failed. Days passed as they worked tirelessly, fueled by a combination of alien stimulants and sheer human stubbornness. They argued, theorized, and calculated, pushing the limits of their understanding of physics and the universe itself. It was Raj who finally had the breakthrough. "What if we're looking at this all wrong?" he said, his eyes bright with excitement. "We're trying to destroy or contain the vortex, but what if we could redirect it instead?" His idea was radical, using a network of quantum-entangled particles to create a cosmic railroad track that would guide the vortex away from inhabited systems and towards dead zones in the galaxy. It was audacious, barely within the realm of theoretical physics, but it just might work. As they presented their solution to Zara and the Concorde, Sarah felt a surge of pride. This was humanity at its best, facing the impossible and finding a way forward. Zara listened intently, her expression unreadable. When they finished, she was silent for a long moment. Then, to the human's amazement, she began to laugh, a sound like tinkling crystal. "Incredible," she said, shaking her head in wonder. "In a matter of days, you've proposed a solution that our greatest minds couldn't conceive in millennia. You've passed the second trial and with flying colors." The humans let out a collective breath they didn't realize they'd been holding. They had done it. They had proven their wisdom to an advanced alien civilization. But as the elation of their victory washed over them, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, what could the third trial possibly have in store for them? And would they be able to rise to the challenge once again? As if reading her thoughts, Zara's expression grew serious once more. "Prepare yourselves," she said, her voice resonating with power. "The final trial approaches, the trial of spirit. It will test not your bodies or your minds, but the very essence of what makes you human." The chamber around them began to shift and change, reality itself seeming to warp and twist. As the world faded away, Sarah reached out to her crew, drawing strength from their presence. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. For themselves, for humanity, and for their place among the stars. The conflict. The crystalline chamber of trials faded away, replaced by a vast, star-filled void. Captain Sarah Chen and her crew found themselves aboard a spectral version of the Odyssey, translucent and ghostly in the cosmic expanse. Zara's voice echoed around them, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "The trial of spirit begins now. You will face a challenge that will test the very core of your species' values and beliefs." Before them, a massive holographic display flickered to life, showing a solar system under siege. Sleek, predatory ships swarmed around inhabited planets, weapons flaring with deadly energy. "This is the Arcturus system," Zara explained, her voice grave. "Home to a peaceful species known as the Nilari. They're under attack by the Void Collective, a group that believes in harvesting the resources and populations of lesser species to fuel their empire." Sarah's fists clenched at her sides. The scene before them was one of wanton destruction and suffering. "Why aren't you stopping this?" she demanded. "The Concord's laws forbid direct intervention in conflicts between non-member species," Zara replied, a note of regret in her voice. "We can only act if the aggression threatens the Concord itself." Elena stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. "Then let us help them. We may not be members of your Concord yet, but we're not bound by its laws either." Zara's form shimmered into view, her expression unreadable. "That is indeed an option, but consider carefully. The Void Collective is technologically superior to your current capabilities. Intervening could lead to the destruction of your ship and the death of your crew. Furthermore, it could paint a target on Earth itself, bringing the wrath of the Collective to your home." A heavy silence fell over the crew as they considered the implications. They had come seeking knowledge and friendship among the stars, not to fight in an interstellar war. The fate of the Nilari weighed heavily on their consciences, but so did their responsibility to Earth and its people. Sarah looked at each member of her crew, seeing the conflict in their eyes. This was more than a test. It was a crucible that would define what humanity stood for in the face of cosmic injustice. "We need to help them," Raj said quietly, breaking the silence. "If we turn our backs now, how can we call ourselves explorers? How can we claim to represent the best of humanity?" One by one, the other crew members nodded in agreement. Sarah felt a swell of pride in her chest. This was why she had chosen each of them for this mission, not just for their skills, but for their hearts. "We're in agreement then," Sarah said, turning to face Zara. "We choose to intervene, not because it's easy or safe, but because it's right." A smile played at the corners of Zara's mouth. "Very well. But remember, this is still a trial. We will not intervene or assist you. Whatever happens, you face it alone." With a wave of her hand, the spectral Odyssey solidified around them, systems coming to life. The starfield before them shimmered, and suddenly they were there, in the midst of the chaos and destruction of the Arcturus system. "Battle stations," Sarah commanded, slipping into the captain's chair. "Raj, get me a tactical analysis of the collective's ships. Elena, see if you can establish communication with the Nilari. We need to coordinate our defense." As the crew sprang into action, Sarah's mind raced. They were outnumbered and outgunned, facing an enemy they knew nothing about. But they had something the Void Collective didn't: the ingenuity and adaptability that had allowed humanity to survive and thrive against all odds. "Captain, I've made contact with the Nilari," Elena reported. They're not warriors. They've never faced anything like this before." Sarah nodded grimly. "Then we'll have to be warriors for them. Raj, what have you got?" Raider's fingers flew over his console. "The collective ships are powerful, but they're relying on brute force. Their shields have a fluctuation cycle. If we time our attacks just right, we might be able to punch through." "Good work. Weapons, target the lead ship. Wait for my mark." The Odyssey shuddered as enemy fire impacted their shields. They were taking a risk, holding their position to wait for the perfect moment to strike. Sarah counted down in her head, watching the enemy ship's shield shimmer. Now. A lance of energy burst from the Odyssey, threading the needle between the enemy ship's shield cycles. The blast struck home, and the massive vessel erupted in a spectacular explosion. For a moment, the battle seemed to pause as both sides processed what had just happened. Then, chaos erupted anew. "They're regrouping," Raj called out. "I think we've got their attention now." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. "Good, let's make it count. All hands, prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're going to show these bullies what happens when you pick on the little guy." What followed was a battle unlike anything humanity had ever faced. The Odyssey danced through the void, using every trick and tactic they could think of. They used the gravity wells of nearby planets to slingshot themselves to impossible speeds. They improvised weapons, using the exotic particles found in a nearby nebula to disrupt the collective's shield systems. And all the while, they coordinated with the Nilari, guiding the peaceful species in defensive maneuvers, helping them to evacuate their most vulnerable populations to safer worlds. Hours stretched into days as the battle raged on. The crew of the Odyssey pushed themselves to their limits and beyond, snatching brief moments of rest when they could. They were running on stims, adrenaline, and sheer human stubbornness. But slowly, inexorably, the tide began to turn. The Void Collective, unused to facing meaningful resistance, began to falter. Their formation broke, their attacks became less coordinated. "They're retreating," Raj shouted, disbelief and joy warring in his voice. Sure enough, the remaining collective ships were turning tail, fleeing the system as quickly as their drives could carry them. As the last enemy ship disappeared from their sensors, a cheer went up from the exhausted crew. They had done it. Against all odds, they had faced down a technologically superior force and emerged victorious. But their elation was short-lived. As the adrenaline faded, they were faced with the aftermath of the battle. The Arcturus system was in ruins, its planets scarred by weapon fire, debris fields where once proud cities had stood. "Open a channel to the Nilari," Sarah ordered, her voice hoarse from days of shouting orders. A holographic image flickered to life on the bridge, showing a Nilari elder. The alien's form was ethereal, almost plant-like, with tendrils that waved gently as if in an unseen breeze. "On behalf of the Nilari, we thank you," the elder said, its voice a soothing whisper. "You faced destruction to save those you had never met. We will remember your courage for generations to come." Sarah nodded solemnly. "We couldn't stand by and watch innocent lives be destroyed, but I fear we've only bought you time. The collective will return, and we can't always be here to protect you." The Nilari elder's tendrils waved in what seemed to be agreement. "Perhaps it is time for us to change, to learn to defend ourselves while not losing the peace that defines us. Will you help us?" Before Sarah could respond, Zara's form shimmered into view on the bridge. "That will not be necessary," she said, her voice filled with a warmth they hadn't heard before. "The Nilari are now under the protection of the Galactic Concord." Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. "But you said the Concord couldn't intervene in conflicts between non-member species," Zara finished for her. "But the Nilari have proven their worth through their resilience and their willingness to evolve without sacrificing their core values. And you humans have more than proven yourselves." The implications of Zara's words sank in. They had passed a final trial. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. As the crew of the Odyssey exchanged disbelieving glances, Sarah couldn't help but feel that this was only the beginning. They had faced incredible challenges and emerged stronger for it. But the galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers they had yet to imagine. One thing was certain: whatever lay ahead, humanity was ready to face it. Not just with their technology or their strength, but with the spirit that had driven them to reach for the stars in the first place. The spirit of explorers, of defenders, of those who would stand up for what was right, no matter the cost. The galactic trial was over. Humanity's true journey among the stars was about to begin. The ingenuity. The days following humanity's induction into the Galactic Concord were a whirlwind of activity. The crew of the Odyssey found themselves at the center of a diplomatic storm, representing Earth in a series of meetings and ceremonies that would shape humanity's future among the stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the Concord's Grand Assembly, a vast chamber that housed representatives from thousands of alien civilizations. The diversity was staggering: beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions, some so alien that Sarah's mind struggled to comprehend their forms. "Humanity has proven its worth," Zara announced to the assembly, her voice resonating through the chamber. "They have demonstrated adaptability, wisdom, and a strength of spirit that will be a valuable addition to our Concord." As the assembly erupted in a cacophony of sounds that Sarah assumed was applause, she couldn't help but feel a sense of vertigo. Just weeks ago, they had been alone in the universe. Now, they stood at the threshold of a galactic civilization. But their triumph was short-lived. As the ceremony concluded, alarms blared throughout the Concord's capital world. Zara's expression turned grave as she received a priority communication. "The Void Collective," she announced, her voice tight with concern. "They've launched a full-scale invasion of Concord space. It seems your victory in the Arcturus system has provoked them into open war." Sarah's heart sank. They had saved one system, only to inadvertently bring war to an entire civilization. But there was no time for guilt or recrimination. The Concord needed their help, and humanity would answer the call. "What can we do?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Zara's eyes locked onto Sarah's. "The Collective's technology is unlike anything we've faced before. Their ships are powered by dark energy drives that make them nearly impossible to track or intercept. We need a solution, and we need it fast." Sarah nodded, her mind already racing. "I'll need to consult with my crew. We may be new to your level of technology, but we have a knack for thinking outside the box." As Sarah huddled with her team, the gravity of the situation became clear. The Void Collective's dark energy drives gave them an insurmountable advantage. They could appear and disappear at will, striking Concord worlds with impunity. "If only we could track the dark energy somehow," Elena mused, frustration evident in her voice. Ray's eyes suddenly lit up. "Wait a minute. What if we could? Remember that quantum entanglement network we proposed for redirecting the vortex?" Sarah caught on immediately. "If we could adapt that technology, create a web of entangled particles throughout Concord space, we could detect disturbances in the quantum field caused by the dark energy drives." Elena finished, excitement building in her voice. The next few days were a blur of feverish activity. The crew of the Odyssey worked around the clock, collaborating with the brightest minds in the Concord to bring their idea to fruition. They faced setback after setback, but each failure only fueled their determination. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of trial and error, they had a working prototype, a network of quantum-entangled satellites that could detect the slightest ripple in space-time caused by the collective's dark energy drives. As the system came online, the results were immediate and dramatic. Suddenly, the Concorde could see the collective's movements, predicting their attacks and responding with unprecedented speed. But the collective was not defeated yet. As they realized their advantage was slipping away, they launched a desperate, all-out assault on the Concorde's capital world, the very planet where Sarah and her crew stood. The battle that followed was like nothing Sarah had ever experienced. The skies above the capital blazed with energy weapons and explosions. Collective dropships punched through the defensive lines, deploying ground forces that began to overwhelm the Concorde's defenses. "We need to do something," Sarah said, watching the chaos unfold from the Concorde's command center. "Our quantum network has evened the odds in space, but they're still pushing through on the ground." It was Dr. Rodriguez who provided the spark of inspiration they needed. "The collective's ground forces," she said, her eyes wide with realization. "They're all linked to a central AI, right? What if we could disrupt that link?" Sarah caught on immediately. A virus? But their systems are too advanced, too well protected. "Not a digital virus," Elena clarified, excitement building in her voice. "A biological one. Something that could interfere with the neural implants they used to connect to their eye." The idea was audacious, bordering on insane. Creating a biological agent that could affect the collective's diverse array of species, all in the middle of a war zone. But it was exactly the kind of out-of-the-box thinking that humanity excelled at. With the blessing of the Concorde leadership, Elena and her team set to work. They commandeered a bioengineering lab, working at a frenzied pace as the battle raged around them. Time and again, they thought they had a solution, only to have it fail in simulations. But humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to learn from failure, to iterate and improve. And with each setback, they got closer to their goal. Finally, as the collective forces were on the verge of breaching the capital's inner defenses, Elena emerged from the lab, a vial of shimmering liquid in her hand. "It's ready," she said, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. "But we'll need to disperse it directly into their ranks." Sarah nodded grimly. "Then that's what we'll do." What followed was a mission that would be remembered in Concorde history for generations to come. Sarah, Elena, and a small team of volunteers took a shuttle, flying it directly into the heart of the collective's forces. They were vastly outnumbered, relying on nothing but their wits and the element of surprise. As energy weapons fire blazed around them, they deployed the virus, watching with bated breath as it spread through the air. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like puppets with their strings cut, the collective forces began to falter. The neural link that made them so formidable in battle became their undoing. Without the guiding intelligence of their central AI, they fell into disarray. The tide of battle turned, and the Concorde forces pushed forward, driving the invaders back. As the last of the collective ships fled the system, a cheer went up from the defenders. Against all odds, they had prevailed, and it was thanks to the ingenuity and courage of their newest members, humanity. In the aftermath of the battle, as the Concorde began the process of rebuilding, Sarah found herself once again standing before the Grand Assembly. But this time, it wasn't just her crew being honored. The assembly was discussing humanity as a whole and the invaluable perspective they brought to the galactic community. "You have shown us that true strength lies not in technology or numbers, but in adaptability and creative thinking," Zara said, her voice filled with warmth. "Humanity has earned not just a place in the Concorde, but a leading role in shaping our future." As Sarah looked out at the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds, she felt a swell of pride. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger for it. They had proven that they belonged among the stars, not just as observers, but as innovators and protectors. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but it was also fraught with dangers, and humanity was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with their greatest weapons, their ingenuity, their determination, and their unwavering spirit. The Odyssey's mission was over, but humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning. And Sarah Chen couldn't wait to see what the future. As the assembled team snapped to attention, each in their own species manner, Sarah felt a swell of pride. At ease, she said, looking around at the diverse faces before her. Today marks the beginning of a new era for the Concord. Each of you represents the best your world has to offer. Together, we will face challenges that none of us could overcome alone. She paused, making eye contact with each